Hey everybody, I've been at a lot of shows lately and I've picked up a pretty good pile of books. So I thought I'd take a chance today to sit down and show you some of the things I've been picking up. Let's go. If you've been following our social media lately, you know we've had a pretty full schedule. We were in Kansas City for Planet Comic Con a few weeks ago, took a weekend off, and then last weekend I decided to hit the road again. I hadn't had enough, and I wound up going to an old school comic book show in St. Louis, Missouri. This show has been going on for about 30 years. It's just a really old school comic show that takes place in American Legion Hall. It's great. I really enjoy the show. You never know what you'll find there. But on top of all that, I've also been hitting the eBay a little bit, so I've had a few mail calls, and it just seemed like a good time to sit down and show everybody some of the things I've been picking up. I've got a good stack of stuff that's for my personal collection. I've also got some things that I'm throwing into the inventory that I managed to pick up either in Kansas City or St. Louis as well. So let's dive in. Let's start off with the books that are going in the inventory. First book I picked up, found this in Kansas City. It's a copy of Amazing Spider-Man 209. This is the first appearance of Calypso. With all the speculation around Kraven right now, a lot of the supporting characters that are related to him are starting to heat up, and Calypso is one of them. So be sure to keep an eye out as you're digging through those ASM back issue bins for a copy of 209. You can probably score a pretty good deal on it. Next up, I actually found a few of these. I found 3 more copies of Daredevil 270. This is the first appearance of Blackheart. I've already got a few of these, and I figured if you've already got a couple, what's a few more? That is a book I'm expecting a lot out of, honestly, especially as Marvel does develop the supernatural wing of the MCU with Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night, Blade, all these characters popping up. Ghost Rider, hopefully. Blackheart is just one of those almost sure things that you assume is going to pop up at some point. So I'm building stacks of that. Sticking with Daredevil, I also found a copy of Daredevil 111. This is the first appearance of Lady Bullseye. I could see a Lady Bullseye potentially coming into the MCU if Marvel decides to do something other than just your regular standard issue Bullseye. If you haven't read this arc, the Lady Bullseye arc, it's from Ed Brubaker's run. It's a fantastic read, and I highly recommend it. The next book I found for the inventory is Ghost Rider #2. This is the first appearance of Blackout. It's a book that's got a lot of hype around it right now, and you can still find this thing in dollar bins, so get out there and get to looking for it. And right now it's going for about 20 bucks, so keep your eye out for Ghost Rider #2. The next book I grabbed to add to the inventory is Immortal Iron Fist #27. This is just a awesome character variant. It's got that nice white background. It's not a very expensive book, but it really looks cool, and I found it in a discount bin, so it was worth it at that point. I think there's a really good chance we're going to see Iron Fist pop up before too long, and just beautiful covers like this are something that's really easy for a collector who maybe can't afford that Marvel Premiere 15. They can still afford this really great looking variant. Next up, I found a copy of Iron Man #54. This is the first appearance of Madame McEvil, who would go on to be known as Moondragon. This book has heated up a little bit lately. This copy's not particularly nice. It's a lower grade copy, but that just means it's affordable, and some collector who would really like to have this book would be able to afford this copy and check that box off for their collection. Next up, I found 2 copies of Moon Knight #13. This is the first battle between Daredevil and Moon Knight. With speculation regarding Daredevil popping up into the MCU, we already know we're getting Moon Knight. A lot of these Volume 1 Moon Knight issues are starting to get a lot of interest. People are starting to try and build that run, and as such, values are starting to creep up. So I was happy to pick these up. Next up, I found a really nice copy of Moon Knight 30. A lot of these Bill Sienkiewicz covers from the 20s and 30s are really iconic, and as the popularity of Moon Knight increases, so does the value on issues such as this. The next book I found you might recognize from our last top 10 comics on a $20 budget video. Found a copy of Pokemon #1. It was one of those things, the price was right, and honestly, it was the first time I'd ever actually seen the book in the wild, so I figured, what the heck, I picked it up. And with so many of the comic books associated around 80s and 90s characters, whether it's Thundercats or G.I. Joe or He-Man really taking off, I thought, for the small price this book was, I'd roll the dice and throw it in the inventory. Somebody out there is a Pokemon fan and would love to add this #1 to their collection. In that same vein, I was really surprised when I found this next book, Super Mario Brothers #1. This is the version that has the barcode on the right. I don't know a lot about the different variations of this book. All I really know is it's a pretty decent book. Right now this goes for over $100, and it's the first time I've ever had a chance to buy one. It's the first one I've actually ever laid my hands on, and it's a pretty desirable book. It's really nostalgic for me. Growing up, Super Mario 3 was just the best there was. So this book hits me right in the nostalgia zone. So very happy to grab this one, and I'm sure I'll find it a new home really quickly. And the last book I picked up to add to the inventory in the last couple weeks, I found a nice mid-grade copy of Tales to Astonish #91. This is the first cover appearance of the Abomination. Of course, he makes his first appearance in issue 90 right before this, but since it was a shared book, it was the Submariner's turn to have the cover for issue 90, so he doesn't show up on a cover until his second appearance here in issue 91. The Abomination, of course, makes an appearance in Shang-Chi, so interest in the character really spiked, especially after we saw him in that last trailer for the movie. So anytime you can add a notable Silver Age Marvel book to the inventory, I'm all for it. All right, now I'm going to show you some of the things I picked up to add to my own collection. With Halloween getting close, I always start chasing down some of the issues I'm missing in my Archie horror runs. So I was able to find some Afterlife with Archies. I got this variant issue for #5, just a fun book. And if you're looking for something to diversify your collection with, I've really enjoyed these Archie horror books. I also found a second printing to issue #10. So many of these Francavilla covers are just fantastic. And then I also found, this is the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina monster-sized issue. Essentially what it is a collected issue that has issues 6, 7, and 8 in it, because this series was canceled after issue 8, and the first trade covered issues 1 through 5. So they put this out to just complete the series. So if you weren't reading the single issues, you were just buying it in trade, you could have everything that came out after the first trade paperback was issued. And then last but not least, in the Archie horror section, I got this Afterlife with Archie magazine. This is issue #1, which swipes the cover from the Life with Archie 23 variant, which is the first time we ever are introduced to the concept of Afterlife with Archie. This is a much more affordable book than that Life with Archie variant. I was actually circling one of the Life with Archie 23 variants at Planet, but decided to behave myself. So this Afterlife with Archie magazine was my consolation prize. Next, I kind of diverged from what I normally do, and I started picking up just a lot of random filler issues that are more modern. If you follow me on Instagram, you know typically I'm more Silver Age or Golden Age focused. However, for whatever reason, this last weekend I decided to just grab a lot of modern stuff. So first up, I got a copy of Amazing Spider-Man Annual #14. It's a great team up with Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, so that was fun, and for the price I couldn't pass it up. I also found this Amazing Spider-Man giveaway featuring the Green Goblin. I'd never actually heard of this one. It's called Pro Action #1. I still don't know anything about it, but Spider-Man and the Green Goblin, I'm gonna buy it, so glad to nab that one. I also picked up a copy of Daredevil 111 for myself, because I'd never actually owned a copy. And this is where some of the random stuff starts to kick in. I picked up a copy of the Real Ghostbusters Spectacular 3D Special. I grew up in the 80s, loved me some Ghostbusters, and the Now Comics Real Ghostbusters books are actually kind of a fun challenge to track down now as a smaller publisher, and they're not overly common. So if you're ever in the mood to really dig in some bins, looking for issues of The Real Ghostbuster is a way to pass the time. I also picked up a copy of Spider-Man 43. It's just one of the few issues of this series I'm missing, so nothing special. And also Spider-Man 50. I think I have 1 or 2 issues of that title left to track down, so it was just one of those things. They were there, they were the ones I needed, so I nabbed them. Also found a copy of Street Sharks #1. Again, like I was saying with Pokemon, 80s and 90s characters are really getting hot. I kind of like the Street Sharks. Found this #1, decided to pick it up and throw it in the PC just because. And one of the other runs I'm really working on right now is my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles run, the original Mirage series. Unfortunately, I put this run off way too long like a lot of other people. I'm in pretty good shape though. I'm down to where I just need a couple of issues, and then there are a couple of second prints I don't have, but unfortunately I also am still chasing the first print to TMNT #1 like everybody else, and that one's gonna hurt. But I was able to pick up this third printing of #2. I love me some Mousers, so anytime I can get a turtle book that's got some Mousers on it, I'm down with that. Also picked up this reprint of #3. I think this is the second print for #3. Picked up issue 6. This was one of the few first printings I didn't have. And then I also picked up 14, which I believe with picking up those 2 issues, now I just need first prints of 1, 5, and 12, and I'll have the whole Mirage run. So that's awesome. Keeping the Turtles going, I picked up TMNT the movie #1. I also picked up TMNT the movie #2. Found those guys in just a bargain bin. They were dirt cheap, and why not? To go along with those, I also found TMNT Adventures #4, just a great Shredder and Splinter cover, so I figured why not. The next thing I picked up, it's something I've never bought before. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen these before, and it's something I don't anticipate to find very often around here. I found some British reprints of some of my favorite issues of Amazing Spider-Man. So of course you've got the cover of Amazing Spider-Man 39 here. You got the cover for Amazing Spider-Man 66 here. Mysterio and Green Goblin are a couple of my favorites. And I couldn't pass these up. They were weird and different, and just another way for me to get my hands on a couple of my favorite pieces of John Romita Sr. art. So hopefully I'm not going down a slippery slope here, but I couldn't leave these behind once I found them. And now the good stuff. Despite the fact that I was diving into some of the discount bins and the modern books, I did manage to bring home some Silver Age goodness over the last couple of weeks. A couple of these were mail calls, and some of these I actually found out at the shows. First up, I've got a copy of Detective 298. This is the first appearance of the second Clayface. I'm a big Batman villains fan, so I try and collect as many first appearances of members of Batman's Rogues Gallery as I can. Unfortunately, I was an idiot and let $100 come between me and a copy of Detective 40 a few years ago, so now I'm having to settle for a Detective 298 and the first appearance of the second Clayface instead of the first Clayface. Next up, I've found a copy of Fantastic Four number 72. This one came from eBay. I had a list of 5 books I wanted to find when I was in Kansas City, and unfortunately I was only able to find copies of 3 of the 5, and they were all way overpriced for what I was expecting or prepared to find. So I came home, and I didn't let that deter me. I just got on eBay, and I actually was able to find some pretty decent prices on a couple of them. So FF72 is the first one I picked up. This actually completes my FF run, so I now have FF1 through 104, which really my goal was to collect the first 103 issues, which is the Lee and Kirby run. So I'm very happy to put this in the PC and do close off my Fantastic Four Hunting Days. Next up, I found a copy of Incredible Hulk 103. It's not in the best shape, but it was in a half off box and the guy was just kind of blowing out some of his collection. The price was right. I didn't have one, so it will fill the hole for now. Same thing with this Hulk 106. Again, it's the rougher of the pair, but as I said, they were in a half off box, and when you can buy Silver Age Marvel books that you need for $10 a pop, pick them up. In my most recent mail call, I picked up a copy of X-Men number 66. This was one of the last 3 issues of the first run of X-Men I needed, so now I'm just down to 50 and 64. Unfortunately, both of those issues are just going crazy right now. It always seems that whatever I leave to the end turns out to be the books that are getting hot, but most X-Men books are hot right now. But I'll eventually track those down, and then I'll be able to, move on to something else other than X-Men. All right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video today. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the books I've been picking up recently. Let me know down in the comments what you've been picking up. Have you found any keys? Are you making progress on your collecting goals for this year? Let me know how it's going for you. As always, collect responsibly, and I'll see you in the next one.